Hey, welcome. It's Captain Matt, Boater Secret Weapon. I want to thank you for joining us for this Sunday night live. We're getting ready to start here in just a couple of minutes here. We'll start about 8:30, but I wanted to welcome you. If you've never been to a live, here's what you can expect. Just go ahead and chat in your comment section, whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on YouTube. Just ask your question, leave your comment there, and then as we go through the time, I just kind of scroll down all the comments and I try to answer them. Now, if it's something that I need to ask you a question, I may ask you a question and just put it in the chat again, and I'll come back and I'll get that information so I can give you a more personalized response, something that's going to really add value for you. This is just something I do. One, it's great fun. I really enjoy it. It's helpful for the community. Just sharing my knowledge. Now, one thing that you need to know, I don't know everything about boats. I know a lot about boats. I've been a boater since I was 5. I've sold boats. It's something that is a big part of my life. With that said, I don't know everything. Matter of fact, sailboats, have zero experience with sailboats. Bass boats, very little experience there. Bow riders, deck boats, center consoles, jet boats, twin engines, stern drives, outboards, inboards, all of that I have experience with. And if I have an answer, I'll give you my best answer. If I don't have an answer, I'll try to give you a resource that will be valuable for you. If I have an opinion, I'll try to give you that opinion, but let you know this is what I think, not what I absolutely know. So I look forward to it. Here's a little video intro that a subscriber made for me. Thanks, Bo. And we'll see you on the live when it kicks off here in just a moment. Test, test. All right. Let's see how this goes. Can you guys hear me now? Do I finally got it? Yes. Ah, finally. And I was like an idiot. I was rambling on over here about all the stuff I got going on. I'm sorry about that. I apologize. So let's see here. Um, what an idiot. I feel like such a dummy. I was okay. So my daughter put her to bed, read her stories, and she came trucking in just as I was getting ready to get on. And she's got a ingrown toenail and is all upset. So I was getting her comforted and back to bed. So I didn't have my camera set up right, and I apologize. So good, glad you guys can hear me. Let's see what I missed. Um, no volume, no volume. There we go. Thank you, Bo. That should listen. I should pay you money because I didn't have my mic on. Thank you for that. Um, intro, yeah. I it's let's. I was um, traveling a little bit, and as I was saying, I went to a conference, and we had it was my distributor somewhere. I had the book. I think I showed you, but there if you see all these logos. These are all logos of products that I can carry, and so they brought in all the reps for training on new products. So battery chargers, some solar stuff. That was real cool. I've got some videos coming out on. It was a solar panel in a outboard motor cover with all the cabling to trickle charge your outboards, and that was pretty cool. A new shallow water anchor by Lumar, and a pontoon anchor, which for some of you I think that you're going to love. They're not ready to sell it yet, but they showed it to us. I got a video, and it was stout. It was really sturdy, really strong, and so I was pretty impressed with that. But yes, John, you can look at. I was just saying, my book finally hit Amazon, so this is now available on any online bookseller. You can also get it at my site, and if you want a free PDF download and see all the pictures and all the good info, you can get that at what is it? Boatbuyerbook.com is the website I got. So you can grab the downloadable PDF. If you want the actual hard copy book, you can get that on Amazon or my site. But look for some cool videos. The shallow water an electric shallow water anchor. It's what I liked about it is it's removable. So you put a power pole on or the hydraulic ones, and you just got them there. But if you've got a boat that you're going to do both, we're going to do some tubing, we're going to do some family stuff. Maybe those power poles get in the way, and these are because they're electric. They just got a pigtail that pops through the transom, and or however you wire it, depending on your setup. No, there's no hydraulic pumps in the boat, so all you got to do is have power run into it, pop off the pigtail, and they slide out of the mount. You can put them in, lock them in, plug them up, and then you go fishing. So that was pretty cool. There was I talked to the solar panel, some videos on lithium, some videos on choosing the right battery charger, the right trolling motor. They had the if you've seen the let's see here. So the present screen, tire screen. So if you've seen the Seakeeper Ride trim tabs, they're it's not even right calling them trim tabs, I don't think, but they're automatic trim tabs. So they're in the video, they're just like fluttering. They make He said 1,000 readings a second and 100 adjustments a second. So that's how quick these actuators are, and they're checking out the attitude, the yaw, and the roll, and they're making adjustments to give you a smoother, more comfortable ride without having to do anything. So it's just like the Seakeeper gyroscope. You turn it on, and it keeps you with a more comfortable ride. So that was pretty cool. Unfortunately, it was freezing cold out. They didn't have a boat in the water. And so I just got to see some videos and see it in action on a demo display. But I got some video of that, which just need to get it all yeah, not a very good book promotion, was it? Uh, uh, let's see. It'd be a 15-minute show. Let's see here. All right. So we'll finally get to some real stuff. But so that was cool. But got to see a lot of new stuff. The new Minn Kota trolling motors, new Garmin, new Furuno. What else was there? Yeah, just a whole bunch of Boss stereo, JL audio. So a lot of good stuff that was there, and I will be sharing that as I get those edited. It was in a big conference room, so the audio is terrible. I got to see what I've got. I haven't had a chance to download it and see what I have, but if it's no good, I will break it out, reshoot the video, but share the content in the video that I do have. Um, all right. Let's see here. Standard. Power pole right now. Circuit board have three. Okay, interesting. Yeah, so this was let's. I don't know if they're Lumar. What were they calling it? We'll just do shallow water anchor. So one, it was a little bit less expensive. It's let me check if I've okay, yeah. So I do have them on my site. Um, I need to, but let's see if I can play this. Yeah, that's not gonna work. But anyway, it just slides right off. So the install, there's a bracket that you mount to the transom, and then depending on where your rub rail lies, you can either lift it up and lock it in, or slide it down and lock it to the top. And then it's I wouldn't say it's as quick as the hydraulic. It's electric, so you got a motor that's putting it down, so it's not as fast, but it's not too bad. It's not too bad for the other advantages that come with it. And they've got an 8 foot out, and the 10 foots is coming out soon. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, that active trim is interesting. Okay, so some of the same concepts from the airline industry. I didn't realize that, but it's the same concept as software that's judging what's going on with the boat and making inputs independently on each one. And the fins on it. Did I close that down? The fins on it are kind of unique. They doesn't look like a trim tab. Yeah, so it's right there. And the other interesting thing is you just run power to it, And then you actually mount it with adhesive. They found that the adhesive was actually stronger in this application than actually through bolting it through the transom, which is always good. Not only having to put a small hole for power to get that there, and then everything else is built into this part of the unit. This part's totally waterproof. It's got some anodes on it, and then this part here is the part that adjusts. So anyway, it's reasonably expensive, but companies like Sportsman Scout, um, who are the other ones that he mentioned? I've got it all in my notes, but there's Edgewater was one, I think. I think there were about 10 manufacturers that are putting it standard on anything 20 and above. And they go up to, what do they say, 30 at 35, 34, 35, 36. They want you to talk to them before they give you the go ahead to install it on that boat. It's kind of a, is it going to be enough, because they're coming out with another bigger size to go up to bigger vessels, and that's where they're at right now. So that that is something that but the price tag, oh, how to buy, I don't know if they're getting with pricing, but the price tag was in the 4, 5, $6,000 range. It was pricey if you relative to trim tabs, but the okay, 4,500 for the small, 7,500 for the medium, 10,500 for the large. Um, was kind of ballpark without installation. So then you've got installation on top. So not inexpensive, but I think it's going to be a pretty awesome experience when I get a chance to run one, and get on a boat that's running it. So I will hopefully be able to do that this summer. What's the chop limit for some of these high speed pontoons out there? I feel like catching the front of a pontoon in a wake at 60 could be spotty. Yeah, that is um that's one of the things that happens on the pontoons. It's why when I was looking at the underwater mounting, we'll call it a windlass system for lack of a better term. But if we look at like a Bennington Q with, let's say, a 350, the good thing about them is they run now. Most of these, let's see if we can find just a regular image. Some of these you got to be careful of because they are photoshopped, and you can see the ones that are really bad. This looks like a legit video or a legit picture. But if you look how bow high they ride, when you've got all of that weight, if you think about a tritoon, all of that weight is hanging off the very back with that 350 outboard. You've got most of the furniture is in the back, and up front you've got a couple of couches. You've got some fiberglass on the queue, but it rides so bow high that it's something that isn't isn't something I worry about too much if you know how to keep your nose high. If you're not trimmed up at all, it's just naturally going to ride that angle. But even with a little trim, you're going to get high enough that that's probably a good 2.5, 3 feet off the water there, probably, and it's not as big of a concern in my mind. Um, High level of sodium in motor oil in a Volvo Pinta seating for 2 years is a deal breaker. Everything works in the boat. Just that reading got me to doubt. What do you think? High level of sodium in the motor oil. I don't know if it's salt. Like, I don't know what that. I don't know what that means. And Bo, I just saw this skipped right over you. I'm going to come back. I didn't realize I skipped over you. I am one. I got your picture that I'm going to show here. in a little bit. But since I just started with Wolf End, let me, if it's salt in the engine, that tells me that at some point there's water in there, right? So is it a Wolf End? Is it a saltwater boat? So are you at the coast? Um, Salt in engine oil. Sodium means oils become significantly thicker. Left untreated can cause significant problems. Um, okay, so that's yeah. What that based on this little bit? There's two things. There's two things. Either somehow the source water, the salt water, got into the engine, and that's where the salt's coming from. Or two, from what this is saying, is that it's just I'll say deferred maintenance, where the oil's been used up and it's getting thicker. Now this is talking about um, engines and hydraulics. Um, so, but I don't know. I'm not a technician specifically, but if we look, oil analysis reports lab shows elevated levels of sodium, significantly thicker. What would be causing that? Um, Coolant in the oil. Yeah. If it's a closed cool system. So Wolf End, tell me what style of boat it's in and where you're running it. So it's a Volvo Penta. Is it their closed cool system where you've got a cooling reservoir, like when do they start doing that? 2015, 16 and newer. All Volvos are standard closed cool. Um, Yeah, getting in through the air intakes. Big Boat Ben. I like that. I like your logo. I know you've been on a while. Okay, Regal 2665 Commander. So again, if it's older, then it's coming from one of those other sources. The just deferred maintenance, where it's just been sitting around for a long time. It's probably starting to get thicker, and that's causing it. That breakdown is causing it, or it could be coming from an external source, whether it's somehow coolants, if it's a closed cool system, is getting in there, or it's a raw water, or not even if it's could be either, but seawater is getting in there if it's a saltwater vessel, if it's been used in saltwater, and it could be coming in there. I don't know if you did like an oil analysis, if that's where you're getting this information from. Um, yeah, definitely. First step would be change the oil. But I'm wondering, Wolf End, it's not good. It's not good to have salt sitting in the engine for 2 years. Now, Wolfen, let me ask you a question. Are you at Lake Norman? Are you the one that sent me the email? And Bo, I haven't forgotten about you, man. If you're Drew, somebody don't freeze up on me now, email. My Outlook has been crashing on me like crazy, and it's driving me crazy. Um, Let me see if I can get this restarted here. All right. Well, I'm waiting for that. No, not in salt water. Okay. So it's not coming from the source. Um, what year is your boat? And are you the Drew? Let's see. This is Regal. Yeah. So Drew sent me this email today, and I was going to talk about it. Bo, I'm also got yours up as well. That Okay, 2000. So it's not you. I'll just show this real quick. But this is a guy sent this to me that he inherited this Regal cruiser from his family, and was asking me if it made sense. He found a soft transom, and it's all corroded. It looks like an older Volvo, but I couldn't tell. So I was wondering if that was the same person. I'm not sure if it was a Commander in '95 or not, what the model was. Okay, so a 2000. Okay, so here's what we got. We got a 23-year-old, 24-year-old boat sitting for 2 years, stern drive, salt in the engine. So what we know is there's been deferred maintenance and there's been dirty oil sitting in there with salt in it, which is going to cause corrosion. So it didn't get put away with the fresh oil change, probably didn't get put away with fresh fuel. So now we know the fuel is 2 years old. Those are definitely two major red flags. Now, Wolf End, if you're looking for a project boat, you can turn wrenches yourself. You can get in there. You can, assuming if you haven't bought it yet, you better be getting a smoking deal because you're going to have a lot of things come up on a cruiser that's been sitting for 2 years. Let's look at a 2000 Regal. What'd you say? It was a 2665. All right. So here's all the things that jump to my mind on this boat. All right. So I'm gonna pull it up just for the fun of it. And 2000. Where do we got a 2000, 2006, 22. All right, we'll pull up a 2002. This is from Italy. That's not what I want. But so essentially, here's what's on my mind is this boat has a air conditioning system, probably too small to have a generator, but we've had all of this sitting now for 2 years. We've got salt in the oil. We've got deferred maintenance, which tells you there's probably deferred other maintenance on the boat. Air conditioning, hot water heater, maybe a generator if it has one. The fresh water, was the fresh water system put away right? So there's a whole list of things that start like red flag for those two things, and then a whole list of things that if those are deferred, I'm assuming these are deferred, and I really, really want to check it out because especially on a cruiser that's been sitting, there's all of those systems, all of the bilge pumps in the cabin are probably going to need to be replaced. Are the seacocks, can you even get those open without breaking something? Let alone the engine itself. The air conditioning, depending on where you're at, Wolf End, if you need to fix the AC, $8,000 to $12,000 to put one in there. It's probably going to have to be a retrofit because the model that they used in 2000 it probably is not available anymore. So it's going to be a big expense there. There's a lot of things in the list. Then the fresh water system, you need new pumps there. You have to clean out the system. All of the stuff in the head probably needs to be rebuilt. All of the duct valves, all of the pumps, maybe some of the plumbing in the head probably need to be addressed. So when you use it for the first time, you're going to have some extra odor. There's a lot of red flags that jump out because of those two data points that we know: deferred maintenance, salt in the oil, from whatever the source is. And then now the gear, was there any water in the gear oil when it got put away? Are you in a freezing area? What's the bottom look like? Just like the guy that sent me that picture is, do you have any soft spots on the transom? It's a 23, 24-year-old boat that was left in the water. There's a chance that you've got some stuff going on there. So all of that stuff adds up to me of, what's the compression on the engine? What's the drive look like? All of that stuff. What's the bellows? The bellows are probably dry rotted by now if it's just been sitting for 2 years. So all of that stuff adds up to new AC, several thousand. New bellows, another thousand. Changing out the bilge pumps, the head, another thousand. So now you've got, you know, 10, maybe $15,000. New water heater. If they left any water, did that get rusted out? Has that been changed? If not, it's going to need to be changed in the next couple of years. Those water heaters last about 20 years or so, depending on how they're maintained. Never bottom paint, motor and outdrive look new. So what's the story? How is it that the drive looks new? Did they trailer it? Great. That makes sense. But a lot of times, 26. A lot of times those live in the water, but not always. So a lot of red flags that slow it way down, ask a lot of questions. And if you do start to move forward, and it passes your inspection and you feel good about it, then go to the surveyor. Get a local surveyor because there's certainly other deferred things that need to be dealt with. The pumps and the head are two things that I'm also always would put money on that they need work done because those types of things they dry out, they seize up, and so and you can check that yourself. You can have them splash it and start turning on the pumps. Let them run for more than just a couple of seconds. Pour some water in the shower head. Does that sump work? Pour water in when you start taking off covers in the cabin. Start pulling those up. Pour some water in the drains there, and see how long do those pumps take to kick on? How long do they run? Same thing in the engine compartment. Do those bilge pumps work? Depending on the temperature, run some water through the head. Does that head keep pumping? If it's a vacuum flush or if it's the old school, that lot of issues with the cruiser sitting for 2 years. Be ready for some other repairs, and then get a surveyor to make sure there's nothing that's major. All right. So, Wolf End, thank you for the contribution, and definitely throw any more questions in if they come up. I will get to you, and I apologize to I apologize to Bo for skipping over him. Let me see if my Outlook is gonna work for me now. And it does not look like it wants to. I even restarted my computer before I did this because I knew I wanted to show that. Why is it? I do not understand. And task. So what's the chop limit for some of these high-speed pontoons? So I talked a little bit about. Oh, I just talked about that. That's why. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. And thank you for the second. I didn't start off strong when I didn't quite understand your question, so I was like, oh crap. I hate when people contribute, and then I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about for sure yet. Yeah. Jerry's got a what 2009? No, is it 2020? I forget. A Regal Cruiser right now up in the Chesapeake area. So, and it has loved it. Has had great success with it. All right, Bo. So I'm going to try again if I can get my Outlook to not crash. Team Bayliner. All right. All right, so I'm going to cancel that. I'm going to find Bo. Bob's no wake zone. Where is it at? There it is. All right, so This is one Bo sent me. This is one that Bo sent me today. That he's helping a friend or a customer somewhere up there in let's go a little bit bigger so you can see. So they've got these trolling motors that mount to the fins. But this doesn't look like the traditional one. Um 19, yeah, 28 Express. That's right. It's I don't know why I was thinking it was a 2020. But yeah, so this is a I don't know what's going on here. They make the stern drive mounting trolling motors so that if you can't mount it on your bow, but it is yeah, it is I'm not sure. The drag that sucker's going to put on when you're running and the I can't tell what's happening with the fins, but yeah, that's a monstrosity. I wouldn't. I can't see a situation where that would be the route I would go. I would try to do something. It looks like he's doing it here, where you've got a trolling motor mount that you can actually mount a real trolling motor and have some steerage and stuff like that. But yeah, that's going to cause some serious problems when you're running at speed. And I would have to imagine that I mean, your water line's gonna be down here. I gotta imagine that's gonna catch at some point and break those fins off. So, uh, good, Wolfgang. Glad that you got some good value there, for sure. So, all right, so let's see the story behind this thing when I found it. Approached by my ex-girlfriend's dad. He's hope that's a good relationship. Said he wanted to get into boating. I knew boats, so I was browsing for him. Yeah, the stuff you'll find out there. It's in the Boat Buyers Academy. I talk about it, and it is if there's anything aftermarket added on by the consumer, a lot of times they're just they don't power things the right way, so you get battery draw that you shouldn't have. They sometimes don't put things in, mount it properly or mount it to the proper thing, and so I saw that in the training. It was something welded on the back of a pontoon. It wasn't quite this bad, but it was bad enough that I was like, okay, we got to talk about this and in this program. So thank you for sharing that. That gave me a good little chuckle. Something cheap, reliable, marketplace. Saw this weird thing. Felt a it as a boat mechanic. That's good. That's good. Bayliner, not going to knock you. Support you either. Oh, that's funny. Sustainability, good to have you. Yeah, that's exactly like, and it looked like they mounted a kicker on there. So I don't know what the deal would be. Her Baylor's new pilot house model looks pretty sharp. We've got the Miami Boat Show coming up, so we should be seeing some new announcements. Matter of fact, there were several vendors, the Faruno one specifically on their radar, and some of their screens. We're talking about they're releasing. They can't talk about it yet, but he kind of inferred some things about what they're doing, and they're releasing it down at Miami. I know there's a few other things that are being released down at Miami as well. Um, All right. Pilot House Explorer. Oh yeah, I did see that. Um, 25 Pilot House by Bayliner. So kind of getting into that EXO, the Axopar kind of explorer boat with that. I don't know. There's a name for it, I'm sure, but that more European styling in the bow. Although that's not quite the same as the when you look at the. Let's do a Axopar boat. So it's similar styling, but you can see that the Bayliner still has the deep V bottom, like at the chine line. You can see it, but it just comes to that point. Whereas on these, it's actually coming all the way down, and so you're kind of, I don't want to say a bulbous bow, but you're sort of breaking the wave up ahead for getting in some of that nasty slop that you would be in a trolling motor. Um, so all right. Um, our Sea Ray's pretty much all outboard motors nowadays. Um, Most bow riders have gone to outboards. Now, they're still making a stern drive option. So when you look at the Sea Ray, we'll say a 250 SLX, they will have them in a stern drive option because freshwater lake boaters, actually right there, it's their main shoot video with the 250 SLX is a stern drive. Um, their 320 Dancer comes in a stern drive and an outboard. Their 370 comes in a stern drive and an outboard. The the 260 SLX, the 280 SLX comes in both. The Sun Deck, the SDX, they all come in both. So, but what you'll find is if you're a coastal dealer, they're going to order almost everything outboard. Like they're only going to special order stern drives in most cases. There might be some where they've got a freshwater market near enough that they may carry some. Most of the freshwater inland lakes, especially in the further you get to the Midwest and the middle, where you're very unlikely to trailer to salt. They will stock mostly stern drives. Now, they'll still carry some outboards because the benefit of the outboard is I can run deep into the season. I can start earlier, and I can do both. And some people like the quiet, the efficientness of it, and so they'll still stock maybe a couple of outboards in select models based on what they know about their customers. But that's sort of the breakdown. So you'll find the same thing with, let's say, Regal. Um, wow. Oh, there we go. Regal boats. Yeah, Mike's on Lake Michigan. So in that big freshwater, big chop, the stern drive is going to be a significant advantage because it's down deeper in the water and it's got a better bite. It gives a little bit heavier, and so when you look at Regal, you'll find the same thing. You'll find they have stern drives in all of these models: LS 2, 4, 6, 9. When you that's not what I wanted to do. When you go to outboard, 2, 4, 6, 9, and the same lineup in outboard as well. You'll find that with Cobalt does similar, Chaparral does similar, and and I did a video, "Are stern drives dead?" And the answer to me is no. They're never going to go away. Well, I shouldn't say never. They're very, very unlikely to go away because in the middle of the freshwater world, the swim platform and the stern drive is just it's too good of a fit to put that outboard there. Now they some of the larger boats they're coming up with some swim platforms that will go around the outboards, so you still have water access, and the outboards are kind of set into the swim platform or set into a if it's big enough, put it into a like an engine compartment that's covered, and then you have a walkway to the swim platforms. But just the freshwater boating, Great Lakes, river boating, Midwest, Upper Midwest. I think there's enough boats that will be sold there every year that there will always be a stern drive market. Now, 7,000 boats a year. It's not going to be as of the what we'll call it 250,000 boats, new boats that will probably be sold this year. 310 last year, or 310 was 2021, I think. But we'll say 225 to 250 be sold this year. 6,000 of those will be stern drive. That I think that number is going to hold percentage wise as the market adjusts. Um, yeah, that's my opinion. I don't have any special um, crystal ball or inside knowledge. It's just what I know growing up as a freshwater boater. Freshwater boaters that I talk to, there's advantages that saltwater people just don't realize. So I'm here on the coast of Texas. Most dealers stock outboards. Yeah, for sure. Saltwater outboards, freshwater stern drives, for the most part, is what you'll see. Regal, Sea Ray, Stern, out. Yep, 100%. Yeah, exactly, Bo. And speedboats, yeah, for sure. So if you look at, I'll just show this one. So Donzi announced that they're the in the 80s, mid to late 80s, they built this Donzi Classic. Well, they're doing another round of them. They're going to be with stern drives, and they are building. What I think I saw they're building 10 of them. So these things are going to be. Let me plug in real quick. Hang on. That'd be awesome. Start with no audio, and then my battery dies in the middle of my very professional live performance here. I got some sort of sliver in my finger too that I'm dealing with. So anyway, uh, yeah. So those types of boats, when you look at what's the other one? Baja boats. So anything that's going to be a performance style boat, there's advantages to stern drives for these as well. One, you can get a crap load of horsepower on there. You can get nice deep in the water, and they'll be. I think you'll see them in those boats as well, and in some cruisers. In some cruisers, the stern drives, like in Jerry's 28 Express, I think a stern drive works better. I don't love it in saltwater, but with Volvo's closed cooling, they've eliminated a lot of those issues. And it gives you the best of both worlds. You got easier maintenance, you got more saltwater corrosion protection because you're just using the saltwater in the heat exchange and not actually running it through the manifolds. But when you get to say 38, 39, now we're going to go with inboards because they're significant advantages to inboards on those big cruisers, leaving them in the water and stuff like that. Yeah. Still, yeah, the Bravo One drives for sure on those go fast boats. Someday, pendulum will swing back to Stearns favor. Yeah, they'll come up with some. Volvo's doing it with the closed cooling. I think you'll see Merc go to that as well, likely. And then there'll be another technological advance that gives them an advantage. And, for part of it, price. It's the outboards are just going up and up and up because of the demand. And it may be a price thing in some cases. They're the only ones that sink in the slips. Well, they're more likely to, yeah. You get like we were talking about on the 2000 Regal Commander, the bellows. I would almost assume if they haven't changed the bellows, that's been sitting there for 2 years without getting moved, that there's some dry rot starting there. The boat's dry stored, so it's never sat in the water full time, presumably in its life. So that's helpful. But rubber's going to deteriorate over time, and when it just sits there, it'll because it's not getting moved. It's got those same creases in it, and yeah, you have your shift cable bellows get a hole in it. A muskrat starts chewing on it. Some critter starts chewing on it. Water's just gonna, it's a hole in your boat below the water line, and it's going down, down, down. Maybe the select types of boats, technology with outboards are made. Let's see, stern drives reaching. Yeah, getting up to the, where they were 50,000. Yeah, the outboards have come too far, but you know, who knows what advancement will be made, that they'll start coming through. Forks aren't pro. Yes, that it's such an unknown. A lot of people, even experienced boaters, don't quite realize the importance of them. I had a buddy of mine that, I helped him buy a chaparral a couple years ago, and they bought a place on. They really enjoyed it. They bought a place on the lake, and he was like, "I'm just going to get the bottom painted and leave the boat in the water." He grew up at the coast with outboard center console. They had a big sedan bridge that they, and it just, that's, yeah, just keep it in the water. I'm like, James, you got bellows and we got muskrats here, and you're really taking a big, and this is your second home, so you're not going to be there, and it won't take but a couple hours if a critter gets in there, or it cracks and you get a leak, and your boat's done, like, and you got an environmental cleanup, you got a lot of other things that come with it, besides getting your boat off the bottom of the drink. When's the first Motor Secret Weapon boat rally and poker run? You know what? That's not a bad idea. I wonder, if we did something down at Lake of the Ozarks. I'm curious. I'm curious where in the country. I'm in the Carolinas, so Lake Norman could be a fun one. There's actually a charity one on Lake Wiley that would be fun if I brought some folks into that. It's a children's cancer charity, Lake Wiley Child Cancer Charity, I think is what it's called. But they do a poker run. They do a couple fun events in, I want to say that's in June is when they do that. But I like it. That might be fun. The cost, 200 stern drive, freshwater stern drive, still, yeah, that value, it used to be the other way around. Used to be the stern drives were more expensive than the outboards because the outboards were more basic. Now the outboards have gone up in technology, in performance, in efficiency, and in cost. And now the stern drives are here. And so that could be a big play for sure, for folks that maybe are on the cusp of freshwater, saltwater. We do 80-90% freshwater and lake style boating, anchored out, swimming off the back of the boat. That $2,000 difference might lean them to a stern drive in those cases. It used to be when I was selling, it was the opposite. The outboards tended to be slightly cheaper. And that was just 15 years ago. Herb, when you guys bring your boat to Washington, show everyone my ladder. Oh, that's fun. Looking at an 05 Sea Ray 220, private seller, 300 hours seems a little too low. Here's the math that I look at is, I don't have my phone with me, but yeah, if you do the math, we'll call it 20 years, 300 hours. So what is that? 10, 15 or so hours a year. It's not, it got used. What the question that I would ask is, over the last 5 years, how many times a year did you take it out? What I want to start avoiding is an older boat that sat, kind of like the Commander that we just talked about on Regal, that sat for and didn't get used at all for a number of years. Because then you got to start worrying about the oil going, sitting in there. Do they put it away clean or dirty? You got to start worrying about the gas going bad. You got to start worrying about all of the components. Now, on a 240 sun deck, you've got bilge pump. You may or may not have a freshwater system on there. That's a $100 fix if you need it, but you may have got some growth in there. So you don't have as many systems as a cruiser. So you don't have the air conditioning, the hot water heater, you probably do have a head, but it's likely just a porta potty. I don't know. I think there were both options. Maybe not on a yeah on a 220 you had pump out, a vacuum flush option on there, but it's simpler stuff. It's not as complex and as tough to repair as on a cruiser. But I want to know the last 5 years or so. How was it used? How frequently? How infrequently was it used? When did you change the oil last compared to when the last time it was run? But I'm not too concerned about that boat. If it was run consistently 10, 15 hours a year, every year, like any boat, um, T-Man, compression, service records, check the oil, gear lube, all the fluids, all the systems, and the demo. Like the demo ride is going to be critical on a boat like that. But yeah, I'm not too scared off by those number of hours on that age of a boat if it's been 10, 15 hours a year, even in the last couple of years. What probably happened is here's what happens with a lot of boats is the first year they put 50 hours on it, second year they put 30 hours on it, the next they put 10 on every year after that. If it new owner puts 50 on the first year, then it starts going down. Or maybe they took it out and they just went and anchored out in a coved out somewhere, and but they used it pretty consistently. That's a great scenario. So ask them those questions, find out, and then move forward with caution. But that demo is going to be critical, going to be critical on it. But I can tell you those 220 Sun decks, if it's got the 50 MPI, 260 horsepower, I ran a crap load of those boats. They run great. They're solid. They're roomy. They are a fantastic family boat, in my opinion. So I sold a ton of 220, 240 Sun decks from like 99, year 99 to '09. They ran the same hull on both of those 220, 240s, and they were amazing family boats. Just great layout, great balance, fun to drive, and we're pretty solid. Hull, Carolina, Washington's a stretch. Uh, Meet in the middle, yeah. Meet somewhere on the Mississippi. Had a really bad season, 23 Chesapeake for barnacles. Possible the barnacles can clog the cooling intakes. I would say yes. I would say there is possibility, and yes, there is cleaner. Matter of fact, I'm getting sent. I've not tested this, but I am getting sent a product that does it. And shoot, I don't have it. It's tucked in all my cards, but uh I can't think of what it is. Barnacle Buster, Starbright. I don't know what the intakes look like on yours. But yeah, it's more worrisome on like a jet boat intake where there's the water's really getting up in there and it's got um barnacles on stern drive system. Yeah, they're talking about the reluctant boater. I, Yeah, so she's yeah, so it's something that you want to keep an eye on, and but this isn't the product was fairly new. And I can't barnacle blaster concentrate. That's not it. But that's the type of thing. But you want to make sure it's going to be safe to run through the intake system. Probably do it similar to like the winterization, where you're running through. And what it's going to do is it sort of softens them up. Is essentially so that they can kind of flush out. But let me do a little more research and talk to that company, and if they're going to send me some samples, obviously I don't have barnacles in fresh water, so it might be a situation where I talk to them, pull you in, and say, hey, you want to test this for me? I'll have them send you the sample, and do the test there. So stay tuned, and I will see if maybe we can, if I can help you out. You shoot a video of it. Maybe I don't know if you've got access to a bore scope or something where we can kind of take a look in and see what we're seeing. But look for an email in the next week or so from me. Okay. Um, Maintenance, do it yourself, not that big a deal. Um, a lot of boats a lot of boats here like that. People from Illinois come from Wisconsin, stay on the boat in the marina, never leave the slip for weeks. Yeah, for sure. The condo on the water. Appreciate the advice. Helped me a ton making a decision. Awesome. Glad that it was valuable for you, Chad. Welcome. A couple new names here in the comments. That's good. T Man and Chad. Was Washington State. My 22 open bow been in storage since October. Won't see it till April. Well, hey, it's already February, so time's coming up, which is very good. Matter of fact, my wife and I were talking about her dad, her dad and brother, and want to do a little family trip to Lake Norman. Come down and go out on Lake Norman. So we were trying to plan that, trying to figure out like crap. Our schedule's already May, June, July. We're already starting to book up for the summer already. So um, that is that is good. But hopefully that's a good thing, Chad. Come here. We talk some boats. I'll show you some pictures and talk about some new stuff that's going on, and hopefully that gets you through the winter months. Was just in Florida on a cruise. There you go. That's another way to do it. Is just go to the warm weather. I hate that thought of doing my sea trial on a new boat next month in Chesapeake. Yeah, that is, you know, just flush it real good, spray it down real good, and um, what you may want to do is, everything goes good in the sea trial. Just like, hey guys, let me make sure that we get this thing scrubbed up real good, washed up real good, flushed out real good, and and then wipe it down. Just every crack and crevice, the anchor locker. I don't remember, Mike, what you're getting, but just make sure you just get it clean, and you'll be in good shape. It one time in salt water with a good scrub is not gonna leave many remnants on a brand new boat. Yes, the Florida. I'm in the Carolinas, so it was 50 today. Got down into the 30s at night, but yeah, the Florida guys on here, we got a couple of them are good. Yes, have a bore scope. Okay, awesome. So if you can, I'm trying to think the best way to go in, um, where we could see what like a before and after type of thing might be interesting, and so that could be the way to go. wish I could remember the name of that company so I could pull it up, because I told the guy, I said, listen, I don't endorse or promote anything unless I've seen it, like the shallow water anchor. I was like, okay, I like it. That makes sense. The pontoon anchor that I don't think they have out yet. Lumar. The only thing I didn't like about windlass system. Yeah, the only thing I didn't like about the pontoon anchor is it takes they call it an eclipse model, but it's a delta anchor with a shorter shaft. They're trying to make one for a full delta anchor, but then you got this big old anchor. It tucks up nicely under. In most installs, it'll tuck up nicely under. But that's just a big old. I mean, a $600 anchor that for your pontoon, but you ain't got to pull that thing up. It chain road. I think it could fit 100 foot of road. I don't remember what the exact number was, but again, look out for that video coming out on that. Let's see here. I think we got a Washington connection there. Nice, Chad. Chad Bow or Saint Chad. Washington 2. Washington. Jason 211. Good to have you. Smell summertime. Umbrella drinks just around the corner. That is good. Hey, Jason, send me your mailing address. I want to send you and Michaela some shirts, some Boater Secret Weapon shirts, and for your little late wedding present for you guys. You've been such a great subscriber. Born and raised. No politics, Bo. No politics. That's right. The Sea Hunt 239 Ultra. It actually, I know. I was going to say Sea Hunt with ride keeper. I don't think Sea Hunt is one that optional. Okay. So it's the all right, that's just a full Seakeeper. I know they were getting a lot of manufacturers to put the ride system on standard. Again, at the cost, there's some manufacturer, and the fact that Sportsman and Scouts, I don't think they were putting them on every model though. So I think it was just the larger models where an extra 6-7 grand was more realistic. But yeah, it's on a Game Fish 30, so it might be an option. Plantation Boat and Art, Sea Trial, Sea Hunt, and the Seakeeper. Oh, that's got the Seakeeper, not the ride. That ride system. So, hello from Guam. Good to have you, Jack to Holland. Jack, you've been on before. I recognize your name. Good to have you from Guam. Wife wants a Sportsman out next week. If the weather isn't too bad, I think she's getting jealous of me. That's good. That's good when the whole family loves the boating lifestyle. Let's get that thing out. NMNY, fellow Washington. I'm not sure what NMNY is, but you Washington people can convert that. Let's see. Engine noise 305. How are the build qualities on a Robalo? Looked at a 207. Seemed pretty solid. Bilge unfinished. Hand was killing me. Did you engine noise? I think you're the one that sent me the email about that. I got a kick out of that. So he watched a bunch of my videos, and he said he was every boat he was pounding on the hull. The reason the Robalo feels so solid is they do a foam fill similar to Bayliner. Robalo's a good quality mid tier, so I would put it, Robalo, Sportsman, kind of in that middle section there. Maybe Who else would I throw in there? Um, Probably put Sea Hunt in there. Probably put maybe a little better than C Pro. Um, right in that same range. There's not good thing is you're backed by Marine Products, the Chaparral, Robalo, same company. They're right in that mid tier, so you get a lot of quality, good value, but they're not top. They're not top of the line. You'll see things like you found the unfinished laid glass and the bilge. Okay, it's going to get dirty. You might get a little sliver in your finger if they didn't paint it up real good. But overall, a quality build, not the best, but also you're going to be saving 15, 20,000 from um, Robalo, from the premium levels. So let's take a look. Dual console. Um, Yeah. So when you look like the cushions, they're going to be good, but there's some manufacturers that use a little bit thicker. There's some that use thinner. Trophy, Mako are going to use that thinner level. Stingray, I would probably put in that the lower level. Hurricane, I don't know if Hurricane makes a similar dual console with the windshield, but it's going to be in that mid tier. The stainless, I'm not sure if they're using 3/16, 306, 304, which just a different alloy, cheaper to make, not as resistant to rust. All of them will rust without proper care. All of them can be avoiding rust and keeping rust off and looking great with proper care. Just need to be a little bit more diligent. But yeah, that's a good looking boat. Good solid hull construction. One thing that I like, I don't know if you did this or not, but rubbing your hand up under the rub rail, especially where you've got these bends here at the corner of the transom and this shear line where it's kind of raking down, is those are places where if the shoebox fitting isn't quite right, if you can imagine in a curve, it's harder to get both molds perfectly right to get them screwed in where everything's straight. So just check that. And but good solid family boat, a good value in something like that too. Dead work to longevity. Back in the day, Washington Connection. You guys think of these drive-by-wire steering throttle? It's you know sustainability. I remember we had a Mercury Master Certified Tech. He's since retired, but he had been 30 years. He turned wrenches for 30 years. Got tired of being in the bilge compartments and went to be the parts manager, Alan, and I would talk to him all the time, and he was just totally against the digital fly by wire, because he said, it's gonna fail. It's gonna fail, and then what? And then you're stuck. Well, those systems have proven to be super reliable. I haven't heard of the DTS, the digital throttle shift on the Mercruiser. I haven't heard of those failing. Um, Same thing with Volvo, same thing with Yamaha. All of them going digital, the the failure rate. I'm sure some of them have failed. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say that they never have, but it's not common at all. And the advantages that you get of being more responsive, of being easier to steer, being more precision, and allowing then all of the joystick control, if you get really far out there, the autonomous docking, all of that stuff is only feasible because it's digital. Once it's digital, now we can start putting in inputs really quick. With the shift, it's actually better because you're either in gear or you're out of gear. It's not pulling a cable, hoping you got your cable set right, where the gears are going, and you don't quite do it quick enough. And now you're grinding them versus you're either digital, it's either on or off, or I guess on or off. It's not dependent on how you're shifting. So that's an improvement. The responsiveness of it, the ease. If you've ever driven an older boat that the cable's close to needing to be replaced, some of those you really got to get on them to get that throttle down. You really got to crank that wheel if the power steering pump isn't really helping. So I think the advantages outweigh the potential disadvantages, and I think they've proved to be highly reliable. So that's kind of my take on it. I'm curious if anybody else has other thoughts. Um, uh, I've been here before. Uh, if I had to pick between Lake Norman, Ozarks, and Wiley, which would you choose for someone wanting to explore new lakes for social people? So, Lake of the Ozarks is number one. Like that place is, if you like to go to bars and restaurants and meet new people, that is it's a vacation destination. Like if you think of the Midwest, we drove 6 hours from Nebraska to the Ozarks, and there's kind of a 6 hour loop where you've got Chicago, Kansas City, St. Louis. Um, you could probably get maybe a little bit into um, Oklahoma City, Nebraska, Omaha. So that sort of ring around the Ozarks is three hours from St. Louis, 3 hours from Kansas City, 6 hours from Chicago, 6 hours from Omaha, 6 7 hours from Oklahoma City. So you got all these people coming in that love boating, but you're not going to drive 18 hours to the Gulf Coast. You're not going to drive 20 hours to the Carolina coast. You're not going to drive 30 hours, 40 hours to the California to the West Coast, hauling your boat. But all these people come into the Ozarks, and they're coming for a week. There's a handful of people that live year round. There's some summer people, call them snowbirds of the Ozarks, that come there for the summer. But most people are coming for vacation. There's a ton of bars and restaurants, depending on where you go on the lake, that are just fun. Pools, entertainment, live music. Ozarks number one for sure. Number two would be Lake Norman. Head over heels over Wiley for the social aspect. It's bigger. There's more bars. There's more restaurants. There's more sandbars to go out, mix and mingle with people. The sandbars are more active. There's some really crazy party sandbars, not kid friendly. People just getting too much for me. But there's some others that are a little bit more low key, but very popular and very active. And then Wiley, I think you, compared to Cumberland, I think you'll be like, that's nice, but this is just enough like Lake Cumberland. There's three restaurants, that one main one on the main part of the channel. They built another one that's just super high end, and dress code type stuff, and another one way up at the north end. You can get there by the water, but the restaurant, like, you can't see the water in the restaurant. They don't have a patio. I don't know what they were thinking there, but for sure, Ozarks, Lake Norman would be worth seeing. Oh, all right. My wife was calling for the dogs. I thought she was yelling at me. Engine noise. You're gonna have to remind me of Sea Ray. Remind me what we're talking about there. Yeah, I don't know who's got her. Um, can a person hire a guy like you to help buy a boat Is that a thing? Nothing. Slip in Fontana. So I'm shopping around knowing nothing. So Sundancer, yes and no. So a couple of things is you can hire me as a consultant. So what I do is I'll get on the phone with you, get on a Zoom, and whatever part of the buying process you want, I'll help you out. I helped a guy a couple weeks ago who was buying a 40 a 42 Regal, and he wanted to ask me about more technical stuff in the contract. He had an attorney that was helping him, but he just wanted to make sure the broker was being straight up and that the boating side, his attorney didn't know anything about boats. So I was sort of the middleman of let's make sure that you get this contract written properly so that everything goes well. When you do the survey, you get your deposit back. If it doesn't work out, you get the boat. It was a convoluted situation, so he just wanted some an inside man on his corner that had no skin in the game one way or another, that knew boats that he could trust. I've had others that have hired me to do that just to talk through the initial where should I start? Is this a good boat? And then they'll just send me some boats. Look at this, look at that, and I'll give them my one-on-one attention. And then you got email support from me for a long time. Usually I'll jump back on a Zoom. So that's an option for sure. And I really enjoy doing those things, but I have to charge because it's my time. But you can, shoot me an email and I'll send you that link if you're interested. The second is you can, depending on what you're looking for, you can find a buyer's agent broker. So you can hire somebody that's a broker and you say, hey, help me find this style of boat. The thing they'll have that I don't is they'll have expertise in your local area. They'll have connections. This boat's not on the market yet, but I know it's coming. Let's go look at it before it's even listed. Maybe I'll find one that that's going to be perfect. Get a good deal on it. So there's advantages there. Now the disadvantages is they'll probably get paid when you buy a boat, so they're gonna have a little bit more incentive to push you into a boat, and they may want to try to push you into a boat that they list, depending on how that agreement is set. And then the third option is to some local surveyors will offer that. Some local boat mechanics will offer that service. So go to a mobile technician, go to a surveyor that specializes in the type of boats that you're considering, the type of motor that you're considering, and say, hey, could you be my boat expert? So, you help me find it, talk through what types. When I find the right boat, you come and inspect the engine and you maybe do a survey. So that would be the third option that you might want to consider. So it just depends on where you're at, what style of boat you're looking at. But just be cautious that you find somebody that has no skin in the game when it comes to what boat you buy, right? That's the thing. If you go to a broker and you call the person that has the boat listed, they're working for the seller. So just a lot of them are good. Some of them are shady. Some of them aren't experts. Some of them just don't know, and they don't care. So you got to watch out for that. But find a buyer's agent is what you'd be looking for that isn't going to be tied to the boat that you're buying. Like they have no connection to the boat, where they might have some crossed over allegiances. And Sundancer, tell me where you are too. Maybe I know somebody that I could connect you with as well. Could you hire someone? Probably won't know. Yeah, and finding somebody that's got the expertise. Listen, I know a lot about boating. There's more about boating that I don't know than I do know. But there's a lot of people that know way more than me. They just don't happen to have a desire or a knowledge how to do what I do and share the knowledge the way I do. But there's a lot of smart, honest, good people in the boating industry. But you got to sort through some turds to get to them sometimes. So, Sundancer, tell me where you're at. Shoot me an email here, to this email address if you don't want to share it on right now. And if I know somebody that I think would be good, I'll connect you and try to lead you in the right direction. See, we're getting closer to boating season because we've been on an hour and a half. I still got a boatload of comments here, so that's good. Let's see. Sustainability kind of scares me, but I'm buying new. Not much choice. Matt will probably just walk you through it for free. Bo, I've got to charge for it. But on here, I'm happy to answer any questions. If you want to support me financially, I would gladly, much appreciated. But if I'm going to do it one-on-one, I got to charge. Got to charge for it. Yeah, you're welcome there. Let's see here. Got an '05 Regal 22. Always loved this channel. Commented before. Thanks for the info. Like comedy, real life. Also got 3 kids, so your personal life cracks me up. Yeah, it's in the summertime. I don't know what's going on with my hat here. In the summertime, you'll see my daughters pop in, and they got something to say here and there. So I'm glad you're enjoying the show, enjoying the time. Mechanic, 100% against it for certain boats. Did the Robalo 610. Mark, what they did is they'll probably bring it back, but they paused it. So here's what happened: is during the pandemic, they couldn't keep up. They could only get so much glass. They could only get so much resin. They could only get so much foam for the cushions. And so what happened is a lot of manufacturers cut their smaller base entry level boats because they could use that material to sell an R302 or an R360 for 20 times what they could the R16, the R160. And so they paused it. Those molds are still available, and they'll bring them back. And now the market shifted, so some of the higher end stuff isn't selling quite as much. And so I anticipate them bringing some of the cheaper, more base models back because if they don't build those, they don't get people into the brand, and they don't get to sell their mid-tier boats to the move-up buyers. So you start with the 160, maybe the 180, run that for 3 or 4 years. You love it. Kids start getting older. You start going boating more. You get more confident. You want to go further offshore. You want to take more people out. You're like, I think I need a 23. And now you're like, and I really like this Robalo. It did me well. Now you move up to the 230. Run that for 4 or 5 years. You keep being more successful in life. And then you're ready to move up to the big dogs. And so it's important for these manufacturers to have those first-time boat buyer models, so they can move them up through the ranks in their portfolio. So I anticipate that coming back for 25 would be my guess. My digital is good. Drive-by wire would be trash, but I love it. Yeah, it's one of those. It's boating guys. The old school boating guys that I talk to are always nervous about it. But the reality is, airplanes have been using it for decades now. Now they don't have the same conundrum of saltwater and stuff that all their stuff is rigged up and redundant multiple times. But it's just been I don't know. I think it's very, very reliable in this area. And when you go from a cable boat to a digital, the one thing you got to watch out for is when you first put that throttle down, you're like, it is so smooth and easy. I mean, it's just like, it's like there's zero resistance. And so if you, like, when I was selling boats, I would run multiple boats in a day. I would get off one boat, go run another boat right away. And I always had to, like, okay, let's get the feel for this throttle. If I go in from an older boat, an '05 with a cable shift that was 10 years old to a brand new pontoon with a binnacle mount just like on a outboard pontoon that just takes off. But yeah, it's a smoother experience, especially when you're docking, when you get comfortable with it. 160's gone. Yeah, I see it coming back. But you saw several manufacturers do that same type of thing. Um, yeah, never no adjustments. That's exactly. Um, Newer boats steer by wire now too. Yeah, it's the they still have still a lot of boats are cable steer, but the as you get bigger and when you put the steering digital, it's why Yamaha went to the Helmmaster series is because they're once you digitize it, now you can joystick it. You can't joystick it, you can't autopilot, you can't do any of that until it's digital steering, because a computer can't pull a cable, but they can throw switches on and off. Sponsor the other question when you were. Oh, let's see. Okay, good. I get confused. Sometimes I don't keep up with the comments. Thank you so much. Puts me more at ease. Good. Yeah, you'll be able to find something. And welcome to the channel, Sundancer. First time I've seen your name, I think. Holy smokes, we got all sorts of questions rolling in. This is good. When you were listing brands like Mako was asking if smaller Sea Ray bow riders are comparable. My dad has an 08220. Robalo I felt way more solid. Robalo has a deep V. So the Sea Ray, yeah, it's the Sea Ray ride is now smaller Sea Ray. Let's see. 220. Um, yeah, here's part of it is because Robalo does the foam fill, there's you don't feel as much vibration and you do get a little bit more like that feel on your feet that it feels more solid under your feet with it feels more solid under your feet because of that foam fill. And in let's see 2008, another thing that happened in Sea Ray specifically, I know when they went from when Sea Ray went from wooden floors to fiberglass floors, uh, the ride actually got less solid feeling because wood is a fantastic. Now, take away the fact that it rots. Okay, so it was a good choice, but when you rode an early 2000s Sea Ray, and it was probably the same for most manufacturers that use this process. But when they use wood in the floor, that has sound dampening. It had, could absorb some of the shock. And so those boats felt more solid than like I think they started switching in 01, 02, 03. They kind of progressed through the models and switched. And when they went to the fiberglass flooring, they didn't feel as solid because they didn't have that sound absorption. They didn't have the vibration absorption that wood gives you. And it's kind of the same thing that the foam gives you. That foam is absorbing a lot of the sound. That foam is absorbing a lot of the pounding, and that gives for a more solid ride. As far as the V's go, my guess is their dead rises are similar on similar sizes, and you know the lifting strakes that they use are going to be similar in size as well, which is going to take some of the I call them shock absorbers for not. It's not exactly how it works, but it makes a difference in how it handles the chop. So for sure, yeah. So it's where I put it in that middle tier is when you look at some of the hardware that they use, when you look at some of the fit and finish. I hate that word; it's so general. But things like you said, where it was unfinished fiberglass in certain areas. When you open the anchor locker, that's probably unfinished fiberglass. You can probably see. Hopefully, they painted it. It's not just raw fiberglass, but it's not gel coated, which frankly it's not going to make, if you're like me, that I'm not super particular about fancy, it's not going to have any impact on your fun, other than if you're the type of person that opens it up and sees that unfinished fiberglass, and 5 years from now it's got some dirt and some grime that just isn't going to come off because it's porous a little bit. It's going to get dirt in there that's going to be really tough to get off. If that's going to bother you, okay, then maybe you need to step up. But if you're like me, like, it's okay. I'm not, that's not worth 15, 20 grand to me to have those types of things. You're going to love it. You're really going to love it. Actually emailed you today about a surveyor coming to check out my boat. Let's see here. I apologize, Drew. My email is still messed up. It's not opening up. I will take a look at it. If you were the Lake, Drew, if you're the Lake Norman guy, if you're the Lake Norman guy that has the family boat, I did get that, and I was going to answer that question here on the live, but I started out like crap with no microphone for 10 minutes. And and then my email got messed up. I think I showed the picture of your boat, if that's it. Yes, that is you. Soft spot on transom, 99 Volvo on a Regal Cruiser. So, okay, here's what I said. I started typing out an email to you. Good to see you, BC. Here's what I started typing out to you. Okay, so you've got this boat. There's two schools of thought. For you guys that don't know, he got a family boat that he had brought down to Lake Norman, where he's at, which is just 45 minutes to an hour from me here. Has it at the marina. Did some bottom paint. Need some TLC. Found out when it got bottom painted that the transom has a soft spot. Okay, so he's got a surveyor coming out. Now, it's almost similar to what I was talking to the other guy with the 03 Regal, but here's some things I want you to think about. I don't know much of the history of this boat, but at that age, you want to start asking yourself, has the AC been changed out already? So it's 95. So what is that? 28 years old. If the AC hasn't been changed, it's going to need to be. If the hot water heater hasn't been changed, it's going to need to be. If the generator, I think yours was a 28. If it has a generator and it's an original generator, at some point that's going to need to be replaced. Depends on how well it was maintained as to when that will be. The plumbing in the head. There's a couple of things that happen with plumbing in the head. Is one, the plumbing itself deteriorates from chemicals and stuff going through it, and over time that rubber breaks down and it starts letting odors through. The odors can pass through, and that's why when you're on a lot of older boats, you can sort of smell that funk a little bit. Well, if you replace the plumbing pieces, you can eliminate that. There's also a lot of, they're called duct valves. They're these little valves that looks like a duck bill, and they allow stuff to flow through, but they don't allow it to come back, like a check valve. Okay, so you got several of those through the system that those can get like stuck open a little bit, so it allows stuff to flow backwards through the system versus just flowing one way. So you've got the bilge pumps, you've got the fresh water pumps, you've got there's a lot of stuff in the head, a lot of little components in the head, the valves and the plumbing. There's probably a right word for the plumbing, but you know what I'm talking about, are other things. So if those things haven't been done, what you want to be cautious of is that you start putting a lot of money into a boat that isn't going to have a lot of resale value for you. So if we look at a 1995 Regal 2855 Cruiser, I think it's a Commander is what you called it. NADA. All right, so if we look at what this boat is worth, so average retail is 10.4. Okay. Oh, that's the bay line. That's not what I want. Boats. So essentially, the concern is that you start putting more money into the boat than what the boat's worth. Now, there's two school of thoughts where I originally started with this. Is one, sentimental value. It's a family boat. Maybe it's the boat you grew up on. Maybe you have a lot of memories. And maybe for you, it's, hey, I'm going to keep this boat. I'm going to get it in great shape. And I'm going to run it for 20 years because it's got a place in my heart. And I'm going to run it for 20 years. So if I put extra money into it, I'm not going to sell it in 3 years. So I don't care about the resale as much. Then that's one thing. Make your decisions based on that. The other school of thought is, hey, I'm fixing this up, but it's not something that I'm going to keep forever. And it's something that I'm probably going to try to sell in 2, 3, 4, 5 years. But it would be fun. It would be fun to run the family boat for a period of time, right? So the Commodore. And I think, yeah, it just had a single on it. So I'm just going to assume it's the base, no trailer. So the boat's worth $8,000. Okay, average condition. We know it's less than average now. In perfect condition, it might be worth $9,000. Okay, $10,000 maybe, if everything's perfect. So you've got $10,000 to invest in this. If you got a soft transom, the next thing you got to wonder is, are my stringers? Did it get to my stringers? The backbone of the boat, the rafters of your house equivalent, or the floorboards, the joists equivalent to the stringers in your boat, right? If it got in there and now you've got to tear out the floor, you got to think about maybe the fuel cell is bad. I don't know what they were using in 95, but if it's aluminum, if it got used in salt water at all, you got issues potentially there. But if you've got to do the stringers, now you got to tear the floor out. You got to redo those. You got to redo the transom. You got a new lower unit for sure. Maybe based on what he said, I think you said a new engine. So now you're $20,000 into a boat that's worth $10,000. If you don't have the sentimental value to it and you're not going to keep it for a long time, you're going to kick yourself from a financial decision. Okay. Emotional decision. I want to take this and I want to take my kids out. I want to take my friends out. I want to be able to tell the story and I'm going to enjoy the hell out of this boat. And I'm going to get $50,000 of enjoyment out of it. Great. Knock it out. So I don't know which of those you are, but things to think about. And when it comes to the surveyor, hey, make sure you tap the whole up and down the whole hull, all the gunnels, get in as deep into the cracks and crevices to make sure my stringers are solid. If you don't know if any of those systems were upgraded, hey, how old do you think that air conditioning unit is? Has the hot water heater ever been changed? Look at the head. Can you tell if the guts of the system, the vacuum flush or whatever type of system it's got, have the guts been maintained at all, or is there a lot of work to be done there? The generator, can you tell how well the generator's been maintained? And you can start getting an idea of, all right, now I can call a shop, call a boatyard. What's it going to cost AC? AC's $10,000. Hot water heater, $1,000. Redoing the head, redoing the plumbing. If you can do it yourself, a couple hundred, $500 in stuff, right? But a disgusting, messy job. Generator, several grand. Engine, outdrive, 10, 15, 20 grand, depending on what you're putting in there. Rebuilding the transom, it depends on how bad that is, but not inexpensive because you got to pull everything off. And so think about those things and talk to the surveyor, and figure out what's right for you. So hopefully that helps you, Drew, and gives you some ideas, but a lot of things to consider. North Carolina on the Georgia state line. Yeah, actually I might know somebody that would be good to talk to. So email me, and if I'll connect you with somebody if I know somebody. Okay, be glad to do that for you. Sea Fox cut their line by a lot. Commander was all they offered for a few years. Now they're back to bay boats. Yep, yeah, that's exactly what they're saying. Hey, we could make more money building these big, think about just the markup on the engines alone. They buy them wholesale, they mark them up 20, 30%, and you put trips and quad 450s on. That's a lot of profit just in an engine that you bought and rigged, compared to rigging a 90 on a 16-foot boat that you're not making much at all. But now markets change, their behavior is changing as well. I'll email you tomorrow, find out what you can do. It is time for me to call it quits soon. 2 hours I've done, usually in the season though, so that gets me excited. We're having lots of good conversation and getting towards the season. I'm the same, not super particular fancy, solid. Yeah, then you're good. You're on the right track for sure. Thanks, Hap. Love the boat. Want it to be a blessing, not a burden. Yeah, it can quickly go that way, and especially with cruisers, there's just so many systems. There's just so much stuff that and it can work fine, can be perfectly maintained, but it just wears out. And when it wears out, it's not cheap to replace it because it's always harder to retrofit stuff than it is for them to build it at the factory when the deck's off and they can get to everything wired up. Taking notes, awesome. Hey, make sure Sundancer, if you haven't got my book, you can get that free. Definitely, this same info on the videos is in the book. So if you prefer the videos, you can just get that all there. But definitely get a download of the Boat Buyer's Toolkit. You can get that for free at on the site. I think it's on almost every page of my site. And it is also at boatbuyerstoolkit.com. So, all right, people, we went 1 hour and 53 minutes, minus 10, where I was just mute, just rambling on like an idiot to myself. So thank you guys very much. I appreciate it. Appreciate the support. Bo, appreciate the support and all of your conversations. Wolf End, thank you for that. I didn't even see that one come in. But thank you for that. And for this one, financial contributions are always appreciated. Allow me to do things like travel, spend, $1,500 on travel to go to that event and get some new info to share with you guys that hopefully you will enjoy. And Bo, thank you very much as well for telling me I'm dumb. And thank you guys very much. We'll catch you all. Actually, no, we won't catch you next weekend because I guarantee I'm not more fun than the Super Bowl. And I think the Super Bowl is next Sunday. So we'll catch you the following Sunday. Take care, everybody. Have a great weekend.